Hello, my delightful things. Happy Tuesday. I hope you all are doing phenomenal and having a great week so far. As I mentioned last week, I was curious if there was a connection to Candyman and the Hookman. However, before I disclose my findings, click the subscribe button to join the Fang family. You won't regret it, I swear. Now, the original film showed many urban legends and superstitions. I didn't realize how many until after watching the new Candyman film that Jordan Peele directed. And if you're curious to know what my thoughts are on that film, check out the card on the top of the screen. So, Candyman is inspired by the Hookman and Bloody Mary, which I was curious about, but I wasn't 100% sure of that one. So the stories between Bloody Mary and Candyman are similar in terms of chanting their name in front of a mirror a set number of times, and both entities are hell-bent on revenge or murder. However, there are two other urban legends that the films touch on. The candy laced with razor blades, and one I wasn't familiar with, the castrated boy. So, what started the poison candy, razor blades, and drugs in the candy? Because I'm sure you've all heard it and had your parents check your candy numerous times, or whatever you scored from the houses. Well, in the 1960s and 70s, African Americans started moving to white neighborhoods, which caused white people to spread rumors about their new neighbors, feeling they were untrustworthy and would prey on their children, thus starting the urban legend that candy and apples, whatever fruit, are being tampered with. In 1974, though, 8-year-old Timothy O'Brien from Texas died after ingesting Halloween candy laced with cyanide. Ronald Clark O'Brien murdered his son for life insurance money, a total of $40,000. He had also distributed poisoned candy to other children in an attempt to cover up his crime, which I think I heard was pixie sticks, but I could be completely wrong. His daughter and other children didn't eat the laced candy, and that was lucky on their part. But Ronald Clark O'Brien was known as Candyman during that time period. That was the nickname that the police gave him, and, well, I wouldn't say the police, but the journalists. In 1985, a poll was conducted by ABC News and found 60% of parents were afraid of candy tampering, even though there was no evidence of this or record. Not on such a large scale, anyways. Dear Abby wrote in 1985 that somebody's child would become violently ill or die after eating poisoned candy or an apple containing a razor blade. In 1995, Ask Ann Landers claimed in recent years there have been reports of people with twisted minds putting razor blades and poison in taffy apples and Halloween candy. It is no longer safe to let your child eat treats that come from strangers. There has been little evidence that this is a widespread problem. There have been, of course, isolated cases in the past 2 decades, but nothing this widespread. In 2000, a 49-year-old James Joseph Smith from Minneapolis was charged with concealing needles in chocolate bars. Again, an isolated case. There have been similar incidents which have been motivated by Halloween pranks that went too far rather than malicious attempts to cause harm to others. And that could be razor blades in candy or apples, drugs in candy. And it's because some people think, oh, it's going to be so funny to watch somebody hallucinate while under the effects of whatever drug they put in the candy or apple. It's stupid, but unfortunately some people just don't think about the negative consequences of their actions. Then there's, of course, like I said, the drugs and the candy, which does have a true story attached. In 1970, a 5-year-old seemed to have died after ingesting Halloween candy laced with heroin. Investigators discovered that the drug added to the sweets was actually an attempt to cover up the fact that the child had accidentally ingested the heroin found somewhere else within the home. In San Francisco, a post office worker was handing out unclaimed chocolate bars, trying to do something nice for the community, seemingly unaware that the trees were a part of an attempt to smuggle drugs into the country. I can't imagine if you're just trying to do something nice and kids start becoming violently sick from your nice gesture. As for the castrated boy part of Candyman, there are many versions of this, but for the most part all ending the same and all very graphic. They all seem to go along with the idea that African American people are dangerous and to be feared. Most of the stories revolve around a white boy between 4 and 10 years of age being attacked by a gang of African Americans, Mexicans, Indians, homosexuals, and hippies depending on the era that it's being told in. And it also changes depending on the ethnicity. So some people of different backgrounds will switch it. So instead of it being a white boy between 4 and 10, it might be an African American child between 4 and 10 being attacked by a gang of white people, and vice versa for different ethnicities. The gang castrates the boy as an initiation into the gang and leaves him for dead. Now, the start of this legend may have began in medieval Europe, because there are different versions that speak of a Jewish group torturing and killing a Christian child. There are also versions dating from the 2nd and 3rd centuries AD with reversed barbarity, Jewish children being tortured and murdered by marauding Christians as part of their initiation rituals. So it's hard to tell which one is where this legend began and if there's any truth to it, because there haven't been any real reports of this. It's just an urban legend that has been circulating for many generations. I found it interesting how these additional legends were implemented into the Candyman movies, at least the original and even the new one. I also learned that Candyman is now an urban legend. He shares the same fear as Bloody Mary, which I did not know. I guess Clive Barker created his very own urban legend, which is pretty amazing. And similar to Slender Man, because Slender Man started from a couple kids or adults who submitted their Slender Man story into a contest, and that's where it all started from. So what are your thoughts on the different legends hidden within the Candyman movie? Why do you think they were included? And do you think that the fear of candy tampering is widespread more than we think it is, and it's not just isolated cases here and there throughout the years? Let me know what you think in the comments. And why do you think Candyman killed his own people who were facing the same racism he faced, only different? Because I was honestly curious about that. I did see an article where they were talking about the reason is because it's trying to show that African Americans are ashamed of who they are because of the discrimination that they feel on a daily basis. But I don't really know if that's 100% true or not. Let me know in the comments what you think. I'll admit I had my own scary run-in trick-or-treating growing up, and I don't know if I've told this story before, but my parents would drive me door to door, and I would go up alone as long as other kids were around, and they could see me from the car, because it was usually raining or cold out, and my parents tried to give me a lot of responsibility, do things on my own, because I always wanted to try and do things on my own when I was a kid. I mean, if I was really, really young, no, but when I was around 5, yeah, I could go by myself, as long as, like I said, they could see me, and there were other kids around. I couldn't actually be alone by myself. Now, there was a long driveway leading to a house down the hill, but you couldn't see it from the street, and there was nobody around. So my parents argued over who should go down with me, and my mom was chosen. As we walked down, I noticed the owner had a very nice car, beautiful house, and I always went to the more upper class neighborhoods because they usually had the best candy. They usually did. And there was sidewalks and stuff, so it wasn't as unsafe as a very populated area because I usually went to back roads and stuff. So it wasn't surprising if they had money. Well, a well-dressed man answered the door after we rang the doorbell and kept requesting us to come inside to get out of the cold. He had cookies and milk that we could have. My mother constantly refused nonstop, but he persisted until he gave up and put baked goods in my bucket. And while my mom and him were arguing over us coming in and whatever, I noticed his house looked perfect. Like, too perfect. There was nothing off, nothing out of place. Everything looked perfect. Like I said, there's no dirt, no clutter. Everything was not crooked, but perfectly aligned. Just nothing out of place, and it was a little off-putting, to say the least. Because usually nothing's that perfect. And we always have this perception that somebody that is ill-intentioned looks it. Like, you can tell that they're ill-intentioned. But not always, and that's this case. I don't think he was well-intentioned. I really don't. Because why would you constantly ask somebody, like strangers, to come into your home? Especially a mother and daughter. It's a little weird. Well, when we got home, my dad threw out the baked goods immediately. It was the most terrifying experience trick-or-treating I've ever had. Do any of you have any disturbing trick-or-treat experiences? Did anything odd happen to you or scary? Let me know in the comments below, because I'm curious if this is just me that this happened to. Thank you so much for sticking around till the end. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. I mean, what are you waiting for? And stay on the lookout for my upcoming videos where I review Primal and I talk about 2 scary Japanese games that you can play if you're daring. If you don't want to miss those, click the bell icon to stay up to date on all current and, well, update, like, coming soon content. When it immediately comes up, you'll be notified. So don't forget to do that. Thank you so much again. Take care until next time. Bye, everyone. Have a great week.